Hello, this is Kathy, and this is her Sidewalk story. Kathy, tell us about how your life first intersected with Jesus.
I actually had a friend who invited me to Sunday school in 6th grade, and I just started going with her, and funny enough, it was a Lutheran church, and I saw older kids going through confirmation, and I just felt like that was something that I wanted to do for my life. So I always say I was probably one of the only kids who asked her parents if she could go through confirmation, and that was a real foundational time for me to just learn about who God is, who Jesus is, and the Bible, and my relationship with him just kind of grew from there.
I love that. Tell me a little bit about your everyday life following Jesus. What does that look like?
When I make the time, I love just spending even 15 minutes in his word, just being quiet, listening. I feel like that's the time where I most hear from him. Sometimes it's worship music in the car. But over time, it's also just become this sort of throughout the day conversation with God. Hearing from him, sending up prayers, just being aware of God and having that eternal perspective. I guess that's kind of like the goal of my life, is to the more I grow, the more I would have that.
I love that. That's a beautiful idea.
Yeah.
And how do you cultivate that?
Just like with those things, just reading his word, having things constantly remind me, worship music, podcasts. I feel like I need to fill my mind a lot with things to keep that mindset going. It doesn't happen very easily.
Yeah, I like that. Good habits.
Yeah.
Tell me about how you've encountered Jesus in the past year.
Funny enough, in the last year, I've never been a person who felt like I really heard God speak. But over the last year, in more than any time in my life, I've kind of heard nudges from God very clearly. And they're not necessarily big, huge, monumental things, but the more time I spend with him, the more I'm learning to hear his voice. And so that's probably been, more so in the last year than any time in my life, I think.
I love that.
Yeah.
What about your faith and kind of working out all those habits every day, what in that brings you the most joy?
One of the things is worship. I love music. I love to sing. And so regardless of what's going on in my week, I can come and worship and just have joy in that. I also just love those God moments. Sometimes we call them around here, or nudges, or when people talk about something like, that was a total God thing. That encourages my faith when I see it in my life, when I see it in other people's lives. That brings me a lot of joy. My family brings me a lot of joy. Now that I'm almost an empty nester, when we're all back together again, it's getting more and more rare, and that just brings me joy when we're together.
Yeah.
So.
If you were sitting across the table from someone who didn't know Jesus yet, what would you want to say to them?
First, I would say he could never love you more or less than he does today. There's nothing that you could do to make him love you more. There's nothing that you could do that would make him to stop loving you, whatever. I tend to be a real task-oriented performance person, and I struggle with that. And so I'm constantly telling myself that. God will not love me more or less if I read my Bible today. God will not love me more or less if I, do whatever. So, and then I would say, if they didn't know Jesus, to just ask him to show himself real somehow in a way that would speak to them, because I just know that he would do that for them in whatever. If you're really questioning, if you really want to know, ask him to show you, and he would.